Hey my glam girls, welcome back to my channel. It's Chelsea, where we talk about all things glam and all things girly. Today I am so excited for this video. I get to collaborate with Samantha March. So Samantha March is a beautiful influencer here, a beauty channel, and just such a sweet person here on YouTube. I've been following her for, goodness gracious, at least 3 years. And early last year, we started talking back and forth over DMs because of our love for Pat McGrath. And then quickly from there, we just kind of connected. And I'm so excited to be doing this video with her. She is one of those channels that you can go to for such a diverse type of video. So she's number one, the creator of the Will I Buy It series, which we all love to do now. We see this video series everywhere. She does Get Ready With Me. She reviews affordable makeup, high-end makeup, and some luxury makeup. It's something that I really always enjoy about her videos is that she's not afraid to go back and talk about those products and use those products that are not the newest on the market. So she kind of helps you to remember those products that you do have, that you do love. So I thoroughly enjoy her channel. So excited to be doing a collaboration with her. And I highly recommend that you check out her channel. I'll have it linked down below. And I also have her video linked down below because today we are talking about if we could only keep 10 high-end eyeshadow palettes. Thank you so much for taking time and clicking on my video. If you are new to my channel, I would love for you to consider subscribing and joining the Glam Girl Squad because we'd love to have you. Thank you to all of my returning subscribers, and let's get right into this video. So in no particular order, because that's a whole nother video in and of itself, ranking my top 10 eyeshadow palettes, that I'm not prepared for. So in no particular order, let's start out though with the palette that's on my eyes. So I have a very soft eyeshadow look today, and it's coming from none other than this Charlotte Tilbury Instant Look in a palette in the Pillow Talk version. This palette is just, it is so pretty. And it's so appropriate for everyday go-to types of looks. So here's a close-up look of the palette, and what I love most about this palette is it's one that I can reach for that I don't even need to consider what type of eye look I want to do. I can literally look at the trios that are outlined in the pan and go by that, or I can kind of go and mix and match shadows, but the eye looks are going to be flawless. They're going to be perfect for whatever I'm trying to achieve, especially for those days where I'm trying to be in and out the door. And the formula is beautiful. I would comfortably say this was the first Charlotte Tilbury palette that I was so impressed with the formula of the eyeshadow, where I was like, whoa, okay, Char Girl's changing up some things. If you don't know, I am a Charlotte Tilbury fan, okay? I love Charlotte Tilbury. But this formulation really took me by surprise, and I was like, okay, Charlotte is coming out with something different, and I'm here for it. I love this simple kind of glam, simple glam, everyday type of eye look, and this is one of those palettes where when it first came out, I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick it up. And I didn't think I would love it as much as I do, but I love the eyeshadow palette. Hands down, one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes. While we're talking about Char Girl, let's just keep talking about her. So this is her Bejeweled Eyes to Hypnotize eyeshadow palette. It came out around the holidays last year, and this was another one that I was just like, yes, I'm gonna need this one. This one I feel is more glam, more evening time appropriate when I kind of want that sultry, smoky eye, but I might still want to keep it kind of simple, maybe kind of restrained. I don't want the eye look to be too bold, but I definitely want to make more of a statement than with the Pillow Talk Instant Eye Look in a palette. This is the palette that I will reach for. I think the shades are so pretty, and I love the formulation of all of the different shimmers. The mattes blend smoothly, and the shimmers definitely pack a punch. This is just, like I said, kind of the same thing with the Pillow Talk palette. It's definitely kind of a no-fail type of eyeshadow palette, but the Pillow Talk version is going to give me my daytime looks, and my Bejeweled version is going to give you more of my evening looks. The last palette from Charlotte Tilbury that I stand for, and to this day, might still be my favorite all-time Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadow palette. Are you ready for it? The Queen of Glow eyeshadow palette. Oh, when I say y'all, I can't get enough of this little gem. I can't get enough. So here's the thing. This palette gives me smoke, glam, daytime, anytime type of look. No matter what I'm trying to go for, this little tiny quad gives it to me. So number one, I love this deeper shade that is in this particular quad. I love that it's deep and dark, and I love that it's matte, because this palette, unlike maybe the first two palettes that I showed, actually is more suitable across multiple complexions and depths of complexions. So days where I want to use this quad, but I want more of a light look, I will literally just tap my brush within this particular color, blend it out very softly, very well, and I can get a light, very light application, very light blend of this color. Or when I want it to be a really smoky, vampy type of look, just pack on the pigmentation and I've got it. So I feel like even though this shade is dark and it does have a lot of depth to it, you can definitely finesse it and finagle it to the intensity that you want to create a kind of multi-dimensional eye look with just one matte shade. And then let's not talk about the intensity of the shimmers. Actually, let's talk. Let's talk. These two shimmers are just so pretty. And once again, I feel like these shimmers work for multiple complexions, so you don't have to worry about the shades being too light, or not deep enough, or maybe too anything. It's just, oh, I feel like she did so good with it. And then this particular shade is more of like a topper shade. So you can add this shade on top of any one of these shimmers and the whole eye look is just like, yes. I don't know what it is about this Queen of Glow quad because it's small, but it is mighty impactful and I love it. Moving on to Tom Ford. So this is the Tom Ford Mercurial Eyeshadow Quad, and I was so impressed with the formulation of these eyeshadows. So I am slowly building up my Tom Ford eyeshadow quad collection, and this was the first quad that I was like, I need more of these. It's so amazing how each one of these colors has more of a satin formula. So there's no true matte within this particular quad. I definitely love to have a matte to blend into the crease for a transition shade and so forth. However, because the formulation of these shadows is more like a gel powder type of formula, you can truly wear these shadows anywhere along the eye and get the desired look that you want. So I have created full eye looks with this quad. I love every one of them. And it's so funny because anytime I wear this quad, I get at least one or two people that are like, what's on your eyes? I need to know it now. And it's not because the eye looks are so dramatic, but it's just the formulation of this quad is impeccable. Once again, love that there's some deep shades in this particular quad, and then we've got some lighter shades. So I feel like I can get a good comprehensive look. And I also feel confident in recommending this type of palette to any and everyone, because I do feel like everyone could use this particular palette and not be concerned that there's a shade in here that's not gonna sit well against their complexion. Of course, we're gonna have some Mother Pat, because why not? So Pat McGrath's most recent quad is in Eternal Eden. And if you have watched any of my recent videos, you know your girl is obsessed. So I won't bore you. I've done a full review on this Divine Rose collection. I also compared this particular quad to Natasha Denona's Mini Love eyeshadow palette. And for me, what makes this a keeper, like I must have eyeshadow palette, is two things. Number one, I really enjoy the formulation of this particular quad. So we have these two eyeshadows right here, which are her newer creamy matte formula. They blend so well into the eye, and they also blend well on the cheeks. So if you're around my complexion or lighter, I would even say deeper too, you can use this shade right here as a blush as well as an eyeshadow. Then this shade right here is beautiful on the apples of the cheeks and on the high points of the cheeks as a highlight. Juicy goodness. It is so good. Actually, let's demonstrate. And just applying it right here on the cheeks. Oh, is she not gorgeous? You can't tell me it's not pretty. And if you want to tell me, you can, but I will still believe it's pretty. But I love it. And then this metallic shade right here is best used either with your finger or if you do apply it with a brush, apply it to a base that has not been powdered, so that you can get the full intensity that you want. But I enjoy the formula, and then these are the shades that I love. If you don't know me, I love me some pinky eyeshadows. Like, if I can only wear one color of eyeshadow for the rest of my life, it would be pink, hands down. And these are the types of shades that I love. So even though this particular quad is newer to the market, it's one of those palettes that I would truly miss because I've already worn it multiple times within the past few weeks that I've owned it. So she has to be included. This one, you could have told me last year around this time that this would have been in this video this time. Because last year this time I was like, I don't know. The Natasha Denona Love palette. So this palette, it is, when I first reviewed it, I liked it, but I was just like, for the quality and the inconsistency of the quality of the shadows, like, I don't know if it's worth it. And then I kept reaching for it over and over and over and over again. And at some point, a couple months later down the line, I was like, okay, so I really can't say that I don't like it. I actually love the palette. So as we know, with Natasha's Creamy Matte formula, it is not always consistent, and sometimes the formulation can just be hard to work with. And so, of course, with this particular palette, we've got purples and pinks. And so these purple creamy matte formulas are not the easiest to blend into the eye. However, I have realized that using a natural hair brush and applying small amounts of the eyeshadow to build up to whatever intensity I want is the best way to use these shadows. It allows for less skipping, and it allows for the shadows to blend easier on the eye, therefore giving you the look that you want. The shimmers in this particular palette, I just think are gorgeous as well. And this shade right here, Dream, is my favorite shade in the palette. Like, I love this shade so much. And so the more I kept using it, the more I'm like, I love this palette. Yes, she's like a diva. You gotta be a little specific in how you use her. But like, once again, I love me some pinks. I also love purple eyeshadows as well. And so like, just even the layout of this palette just speaks to me, hands down, just one of my favorites, that if I didn't have that particular palette in my collection, I would be so sad. So sad. Let's switch it up a little bit. So this one is, I know this one was limited edition. I don't know if it's still available. If it is still available, I will make sure to have it linked down below. But the Anastasia Jackie Aina palette, by far, in my opinion, one of the best collaborations of eyeshadow palettes out there. This palette is still one of my favorite palettes to use for simple eye looks, for glam eye looks. I know my favorite shade in this palette by far is Zam. I one time was rushing, and it was actually for my birthday, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get myself together and be out the door. I threw ginger into my transition area. I added edges to the crease and put on Zam, and I took a picture, and I was like, oh, okay, this came out real cute. And when I uploaded my picture, I got so many compliments on the eye look, and I'm like, y'all, this eye look took all of 5 minutes. But the shades in here are so impactful, and the quality of these shadows is beautiful. Like, I'm never getting rid of this palette. Just like my Mario palette, the only reason why Mario is not in here is because I don't even use it anymore. It's so old. But this would be one of those palettes where I'm like, I'm gonna forever have it. This formulation and the colors that were chosen for this palette are just beautiful. I honestly feel like this is one of the best palettes that has come from this brand. And it's one of, still to this day, one of my favorite palettes that I reach for, especially when I want to know that I'm gonna get an eye look that I want. And I think that's what I can like say about every one of these palettes that I'm gonna talk about. When I need a look to look the way that I want it to look, these are the palettes that I go to because they are guaranteed to give me what I'm looking for each and every time. And you can't beat that. Then we go back to Mother Pat McGrath. So we have Mothership 5 Bronze Seduction. This was my first Pat McGrath palette, and I've done a whole series where I individually did eye looks for every one of Pat McGrath's Mothership palettes, and then I ranked all of my Mothership palettes. And that was such a fun video to do and such a fun series to do. So Bronze Seduction was my first Pat McGrath eyeshadow palette. It was what made me fall in love with the brand. For this palette, I chose it because of nostalgic reasons, but more so, this palette contains one of my favorite pink shades of all the pink shades that I own, and it is this shade right here. I have to swatch it for you. I have worn this shade so many times. I have put it on so many people when I've done their makeup. It just is my perfect pink. And of course, it's one of Pat McGrath's special shades. So you're getting that shimmer payoff, that metallic, just recognizable type of shimmer and metallic formula that comes with Pat McGrath's special shades. That shade alone, for me, makes the whole palette worth it. There's more shades in here that I love though. I love this red one, and I mean, I really enjoy the special shades in this particular eyeshadow palette. And the rest of the shades I think are really pretty as well, and I do use them. But this palette, when I'm going for a particular eye look, and I'm also like, I need a particular type of shimmer, metallic shade, I'm reaching for this palette. I'm primarily reaching for one of these special shades because those are the shades that I love the most in this particular palette. But I have all 8 Mothership palettes, and I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to choose between all 8 of you all? But the ones that I chose are the ones that I reach for the most, so that kind of made it a little easier. Then we have another Mothership palette. They're just so, oh my gosh. So I was looking, I literally took out every one of my eyeshadow palettes, laid them out on the floor, and looked at them. That's how I got ready for this video, because I was like, there's no way I'm gonna just think of 10 off the top of my head. Absolutely no way. And I was like, I need a cool tone palette. What is the #1 cool tone palette that I reach for the most out of the cool tone palettes that I have? And we had to go with Pat McGrath Divine Rose. Divine Rose 1. This is the one that I reach for time and time again when I definitely want my eye look to look a little more cool. Although this particular palette is not a fully cool toned palette, I like to say that this palette is more neutral versus like completely cool toned, because we do have some shades in here that, in my opinion, do pull a little more warm. And also with the cool tone shades, they're not overly cool and gray. So I think this palette actually is great for people who are like, I am a warm toned lover of eyeshadows, but I kind of want to try some cool tone, but I'm not ready to go like full on cool gray toned types of eyeshadows palettes. I love this palette, and I recommend this palette for that type of person. This palette also contains some of my favorite shades in Mothership's, in Pat McGrath's collection. So this particular palette has some repeat shades, and forgive me for not knowing the shades off the top of my head, but these 2 shades right here are repeat shades, and I love them. This particular shade right here is actually a highlighter shade that you find in Pat McGrath's highlighter trio palette, and I really enjoy it. So when I saw that this particular highlight shade was in this particular palette, and then this particular shade is from Mothership 6 Midnight Sun, and I love that particular shade. I was like, this is a perfect palette. I've got a little bit of cool toned over here, but I got some neutral shades, and then I have 2 of my favorite shades from other palettes. Win-win. The last palette that we are going to talk about, because I had kind of saved the best for last. Kind of saved the best, because like I said, I'm not ranking this. This is not a ranking at all. But by far one of my favorite palettes. Can you guess it? I want you to take a guess. If you know me, you know what I like. Take a guess. Leave it in the comment section below. I'll wait. I'll wait. Okay, last one. Had to be, right? It had to be Pat McGrath's Divine Rose 2. I just cannot. I just cannot. So, like I've already told you all, I love me some pink eyeshadows. Y'all, I have way more than pink eyeshadows, and I wear more than pink eyeshadows. I actually love to wear color. So, I don't only wear pink eyeshadows, but like I said, if I had to choose one color to wear indefinitely, it would be pink. This particular palette is one of my favorite palettes, and it's a palette that I have to have for the colors, but also for the formulation and for the flexibility of this palette. So kind of like I said with Pat McGrath's Eternal Eden Quad, this is a palette that I also use for multiple reasons. So for instance, this shade and this shade right here, I love these two shades as blushes. So if I'm using this particular palette for an eye look, a lot of times I'm using one of these shades for the blush to complement the overall look. The formulation is so smooth. So this is a traditional matte formula, but it blends effortlessly onto the eye and also on the face. This particular eyeshadow has more of the shimmer-like texture, but because it's so finely milled and it's so smooth, it works just as beautifully as a blush, just like a shimmer blush. Then we have these other shades in the palette that are beautiful in and of their own. So we've got a matte here, two shimmers, I mean, just gorgeous. But then we get over here to these special shades and I'm just like, I'm done at this point. This Extraterrestrial shade, and yes, I do know the name of that one, because why not, is such a beautiful trio chrome. I love how when I put the eyeshadow on, I legit can see all three colors of the eyeshadow. And then the remaining special shades are so pretty. This one is it is such a beautiful pearlescent pinky type of eyeshadow. I just can't. Let me just go ahead and swatch it. So this is the one I was just telling you about that's just such that beautiful like pinky pearl gold type of look. And this is Extraterrestrial. And I mean, I just can't get over them. And I love how Pat McGrath really kind of switched up her formula, because even with the special shades, especially Extraterrestrial, it's so soft, because some of her other special shades, you can definitely feel the texture a little bit more. But with these, you can tell that she reformulated it so that the texture of the shadows is even more smooth, but we're still getting that intensity that when you see the shade on your eye, you're like, yeah, that is Pat McGrath, hands down. I just love what she did with this particular palette, and it is one of my favorites, by far one of my favorites that I truly enjoy having. And guys, that is it. This particular challenge was a challenge, but looking at these palettes, I'm like, yeah, these are my favorite eyeshadow palettes. If I could only keep 10 high-end eyeshadow palettes, these would be the ones that I would keep, that I feel I could be satisfied with any type of eye look that I create. But yes, that is it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Leave me in the comments down below some of your I must have these eyeshadow palettes. I'd love to hear what your favorites are, and let me know if some of my favorites ends up being some of your favorites. Definitely check out Samantha's channel. Like I said, I'll link her video down below. I cannot wait to watch and hear what her top 10 eyeshadow palettes are. Thank you so much, Samantha, for doing this collaboration with me. I'm just truly honored to do this with you. And if you've made it to this point in the video and you have not yet already subscribed to my channel, definitely consider subscribing and joining the Glam Girl Squad, because we would love to have you. And guys, that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope to see you in my very next video. Bye, guys.